Good, thank you. Tell you what, why don't you mute everyone for the start here? Please. There we go. Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the October 14th, 2021 Olive Town Board budget hearing and the presentation for the budget and contract for the Olive Fire Department. We are awaiting Olive Fire Department Treasurer Tom Plants. I can give you some rundown on the numbers. I'll read the letter that he sent so that I can just refresh you all.
Come in and now if you want to hang out or.
Well, let me just read this first. We received this letter on September 27th. This letter will serve to establish the proposed budget for the Olive Fire Department for 2022. The 2022 proposed budget, coupled with the service awards program established in 2004, will total $700,250. Components of this total are $544,850 to fund the contract operating accounts of the fire department, $6,600 to fund the recently enacted cancer program insurance premiums, and $148,800 to fund the approved service awards program. The 2022 amount to be raised by taxation is 1.8% more than the 2021 taxation level. The $544,850 amount is the first component year incorporated in a proposed new 3-year contract that will allow the department to operate efficiently through the years 2022 through 2024. Projected increases in the 2023 and 2024 proposed operating budgets, combined with the estimate service awards program, have been limited to 1.7% and 1.4% respectively per year for the total amounts to be raised by taxation. So if I read that correctly, it's 1.8 the first year, 1.7 the second, and 1.4 the third. This proposed budget has been approved by the Olive Fire Department, the Board of Directors, and is submitted for review with you and the town board. If necessary, a workshop session may be scheduled to discuss the details of the proposed budget and the approval of the requested 3-year contract covering 2022, 2023, 2024. Inquiries regarding this matter should be directed to me, Tom Plants, Treasurer, Olive Fire Department. Has Mr. Plants joined the meeting now?
Yes, he has.
Hey, there you are, Tom. These are nice numbers, and I really applaud you for doing a great job on this and really keeping things trimmed there. You run a fine operation. I always am very proud when I see the work that you've done in comparison, especially to the other towns in Ulster County. So you want to give us a little more detail on what I just read your letter to the board, if you didn't hear?
Sure. First of all, when we were all done, I was kind of amazed myself that, building a $1.8 million firehouse, and we're still able to hold the increase to 1.8%. So I thought that was pretty good. I don't know if the rest of the board realizes, but we have taken one loan out in my 51 years with the fire department. We don't bond, we don't loan. We were in a position one year with Ulster County Self-Insurance with a buy-it program. We already had a new truck on contract, so we had to borrow some money there, but that was years ago. But anyhow, come back to the current 3-year budget that you have in front of you. The increases in our operations is significantly minor, really. The biggest operations increase we have was on fuel. And I think we're starting to see that already. Gasoline prices have gone up. Home heating oil prices have gone up. Propane prices have gone up. So there was a significant increase in that line item. The telephone came down significantly. It sounds like kind of a nitpick to talk about telephone, but we had 6 lines that we were paying like $75 a month just for dial tone, and half the time Boyceville wasn't working, Sampsonville wasn't working. Switching over to Spectrum, we saved several $1,000s annually to switch over to that. So that was a plus. The other stuff is under operations. We look at stuff like our accounting fees. You know, every year we have to do New York State audit, and we have to fill out a 990 form for the federal government since we're a 501c3 corporation. A 990 form is very lengthy. So we have a CPA in Kingston that does that. And those bills just for the accounting fees are approaching $8,000 a year, you know, so that's a piece of money. As far as apparatus goes, for a while, we were on a 2-year replacement program on trucks. And I said, when I took over as chief, my goal was to make sure that every first truck out the door was less than 20 years old. And actually, we didn't hit that until about 4 or 5 years ago. So right now, we are in good shape with apparatus. Got some great pieces. If you look at the, especially the newest ones, the Olive Bridge truck and the Shokan truck, they are state of the art. Next truck scheduled 3 years, which would put us out into 2024, will be the West Shokan truck, and that's going to be downsized somewhat, just because of the size of the firehouse. And while we're talking about the size of the firehouse, we want to do something with respect to an addition on that firehouse. If you've ever been inside there, I mean, there isn't enough room to change your mind in there. So we're going to work on that out of this 3-year budget. You mentioned LoSAP. LoSAP is a very significant part of this. It's something that we don't include in our operations or our capital, because we basically have no control over LoSAP, and we basically have no control over our workman's compensation insurance. So that's why we kind of list that on a separate line. For the benefit of the board, Jim and I had talked about the LoSAP, if you want to call them surpluses, that we've had for the past several years. Our actual LoSAP bill has been less than we budgeted for. So that surplus has been going into our general fund. We call it our tax fund. And that's one of the reasons that we're able to build a new firehouse and still only increase the taxes by 1.8%, because that was a savings right there. We were able to invest that money and gain a little bit of interest on it. Outside of that, let me look what else we got down here. I think that's pretty much it. Pete and I work on it. Pete Nissen and I have been working on this. We've been doing this for the last, gosh, I don't know, many years. And we always try and do a comparison. If you look at the tax rates from last year, and you had a $200,000 home, this year your tax rate, using the same rate, you'd be paying about $113 in fire taxes. And if you want to compare that to other towns, I think you'd be amazed. We operate pretty cheap. We really do. So any other questions?
Hey, Tom, I can also say that if you look at what you sent us, based on a projection for a $200,000 taxable value, a home, in 2022 with this budget, you're looking at $113.52. In 2023, projected at $115.45, and in 2024 at $117.07. And I find that to be just a great value and service to the town. And again, I thank you guys for that.
Okay. If you look at some of the other thing I have to say, while I'm kind of tooting my own horn here, or our horn, I should say. If you look around us, there's some serious problems with manpower going on across the county. I mean, our neighboring departments are having some severe manpower shortages. You may or may not know that the Atwood Fire Department folded their tent. They went out of business. That's going to be absorbed by Stone Ridge. It's not done on paper yet. That's the plan. Stone Ridge is going to pick all that up. There are several other departments in the town of Marbletown that are in similar position that they just don't have the manpower. And like I say, we're blessed. I think a lot of it is our junior firefighter program has helped us out. We get an awful lot of young folks that come over and become permanent members at age 16. And that's one thing. The other thing is we're consolidated, right? And everybody, if you look at, let me pick on the town of Marbletown, because there's no secret. They just got a fairly nice grant to have an independent company come in and do a consolidation study. There's 7 fire departments in the town of Marbletown. That's 7 Board of Fire Commissioners. And by the way, they're fire districts, whereas we are a fire protection district. Difference. And if anybody needs an explanation, I go into that. But that's 7 treasuries, 7 Board of Fire Commissioners, 7 duplicated sets of apparatus, tools, and everything like that. And everybody says, well, you guys are consolidated. And I said, yeah, thank goodness that our forefathers, Al Fox and company, put this together the way they did. We were born consolidated. And I think it's the most efficient way to run an operation.
Great. I'm going to ask the board if they have any questions or comments. You can unmute yourselves.
Tom, I got one comment. Thank you very much for the budget. I have no issues with it. When do you, I know this is a tricky question, when do you anticipate breaking ground for the new firehouse in Boyceville?
We had hoped, if nothing else, we had hoped to have an entranceway in by now. Our holdup is our engineer. We're waiting for the engineer. We have done perk tests, and our original site that somebody's got a dog.
Yeah, that's mine. She'll quiet down a second.
Our original site for our main fields or our leach field not pass the perk test. So we had to move it up behind. So it's going to be a pump system, and hopefully we can work something out maybe to tie into the sewer district when it comes through there. But I don't know if anybody's really sure when that's going to happen. You folks have better visibility of that than we do, but we don't want to wait 3 years to flush the toilet, though. If that's what I was hearing, it was 3 years, right?
At a minimum, yeah.
If we're lucky, once you break ground, how long do you think it'll be to complete it? Assuming you can get materials.
We hope as long as materials are available, and right now it's going to be a metal building. And it's going to look different than a lot of the buildings in the town and a lot of the firehouses around. It'll be a metal building with 2 shed roofs on it. 1-story shed roof over top of the meeting room and the bathrooms and utility rooms. And then a small set of vertical windows that'll be low loss glass, which will admit a lot of light into the engine bays. And then a larger shed roof that goes on top of that. That's all going to be metal. It's going to be up on a concrete knee wall to keep the salt and anything away from the metal supports. And it's going to be a radiant heat in the floor. It's going to look square footage wise, it's going to be very, very similar to the Shokan station, a 4-bay drive-through. And not to say we're going to do another chicken barbecue in Boyceville, but that seemed to really cut on. I tell you, it works well.
Any other questions?
Hopefully next year, though, about 90% of the construction will be done, provided materials are available.
Good, thank you.
Anyone else on the board want to ask a question?
I just want to commend you on a great job like always.
Thank you, Dave.
Yeah, I think it's a very reasonable budget and you guys do an amazing job. So, thank you.
Okay,
I will pass
Um,
those. I will pass those good words on at our next meeting.
yeah, please do. Yeah, we're very appreciative. And I imagine there'll be some kind of contract hitting my desk at some point before the new year.
Yes, yes.
okay.
Once you approve that, then we go to the lawyer and we have to find a new attorney. Our local attorney is retired now. I think we talked about that. And
Right.
we'll find a new attorney to drop the formal contract.
Okay. I'll put that on the November agenda. And we can vote on it then.
Okey doke.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. We are going to be moving on now to the Town of Olive budget, which is a whole nother animal. And I do want to, I see Marlies is out there.
Jim?
Yes.
I just want to say, remind you that you won't be voting on that budget until after your public hearing on the fire contract. You have to have that public hearing first.
Okay, we need to schedule that then too.
It's scheduled.
Okay, great. And we can open up the budget hearing. Do we need to do a roll call and things for that going or not? We don't, right? But I did want to work, I do see that Marlies, our is here, our new bookkeeper is here, and she's there listening. And I'm sorry to say that we don't have a PDF file for the budget. It's quite extensive. We're going to have to go through it, the board members page by page. So you can hear us, but you can't see what we're talking about, unfortunately. But I welcome you, Marlies, and I look forward to you starting on October 25th.
Thank you, everyone. It's great to be here. Got a couple of familiar faces. Hi, Miss Vicky. So awesome. I'll just be following along from here. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
I'm Marlies. Glad you're coming to work for the town.
Okay, so we received the tentative budget, the 2022 tentative budget. And I wanted to go over some of just the quick ones. The appropriations for the general fund were up 4.9499%. The highway fund was up 0.2637%. The fire district was at 1.8249. The special lighting district was 6.667%. And that came out with an overall appropriations increase of 2.8003%. The tax levy, I'm just going to go down to the bottom of that. Well, I can go general fund. It would be a 1.4825% increase. The highway fund was a negative 0.8876%. The fire district was 1.829 or 1.8249. And the special lighting difference was 6.667, leading us to an overall tax levy increase of 0.5491%, which is a great way to start out in a tentative budget. I wish they all started out like that. So I am going to move on a little, and we can go right to the first page. If you open up your budgets, it is the schedule of salaries of elected officials under Article 8 of the town law. And we have the positions on here, and these positions represent, with the exception of the highway department and the justices, the supervisor position has the 2.5% increase. We have a 2.5% increase that we align ourselves with every year by custom to be in alignment with the contractual obligations to the highway workers. So in the supervisor and councilman and town clerk, you see those figures there are representing a 2.5% increase. I would like to discuss that a little. Does anybody have any comments on the board about that? You can unmute the board, please.
Sorry for all the noise.
You guys catching up with me here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll bring up one issue. I know this is probably not the issue you want to bring up right now, but when you start looking at our salaries for, I'll say, all of the higher positions in the town, the supervisor position is significantly lower than the rest. And I don't know what the right number is, but my feeling is that number should be, I'll say, up in the neighborhood of 58, 59,000 instead of 54. I'm curious what the rest of the board thought about that.
I completely agree. It seems
Okay.
inequitable to me.
I had jotted down 57 myself, but 58 I wouldn't argue against.
I think that's a little excessive myself, but that's my position, and I don't even know whether I should even comment on this.
Well, I took a look at at the moment, the supervisor, I'll say for the 2021 budget, supervisor salary is less than the assessor, less than the town clerk, less than the highway. And when I took a quick look at the budget, it's also less than pretty much everybody that works in the highway department. So that's where I kind of came up with like a 58 number. The other option we could do is bump it up some this year and some next year, but I was thinking this is a good year to do it because right now our tax rate is like 0.5%. So if we bump that up and maybe we cut some few things here and there, it won't make much difference. And I guess the other thing that's on the table is whether we hold everybody else with no raise. I have no problem with that. That's what the rest of the board wants to do.
So I have a couple of comments regarding salaries. I've been tuning this one for 8 years now. And when I first got elected in the first budget I did, when I was elected, I knew what my salary was. I don't understand, I know it's been past practice, but I don't understand why elected officials continue to get a raise during their term. You run for office knowing what your salary is. I think it's up to the town board to decide what those positions pay before people decide to run for election. And there has to be a min and a max on those positions going forward.
I'd like to comment on that. That was something that former Councilman Pete Fidel brought up years ago when I first got on the board. And it was one of the very few things that I agreed with him wholeheartedly on. I would agree with that. I don't believe the elected officials should get raises for what Scott said.
I fully agree.
So what has to be addressed going forward is we have some positions that if a new person came in there, should they inherit that salary? And that's where the gray area has been it's kind of been since I've been on the town board. So I think when we have a new person elected, or we know, or an elected official has decided not to run, maybe that position has to be, that salary for that position has to be changed and be known before caucuses or before political season.
So the different town board seats would have different pay as
Correct.
people moved off? Okay.
Should you inherit a $70,000 salary because that salary has gotten a 3% raise for 20 years? I don't think that's how it should be.
I agree.
Right.
I completely agree.
I don't necessarily agree with the councilman positions that they should be varied. They should be the same, is my opinion. But I do agree that it should be what we agree on when we go in. We're making that decision for next year. But if you had a contested race in any of these positions, you were saying that you would change that when someone was elected if they weren't experienced? I'm a little confused there.
Yeah, so should say highway supervisor, if that person is brand new with no experience, should they inherit a $65,000 salary? I don't know if that answer is true. Should a supervisor inherit a $60,000 salary?
But you'd have to make a budget adjustment. You would have to adjust that after the fact then.
Yeah, and I don't think you're allowed to do that if I remember right.
I
Right,
think you
so-
can reduce it. I don't think you can add more,
Oh, okay.
but I'd have to look into that.
I mean, some election years, that would be a clear cut thing. Other election years, it could be undecided before we have to vote on a budget.
Correct.
I mean, I'm the only one here with a contested race this year, so that I know of, unless there's a major write-in candidate that we don't know about, but
No, I just think it's something the board has to address going forward to get the salaries in line with other towns,
right.
maybe up or down, so.
But also keep in mind, other towns, when you look at, say, where we're paying somebody close to 60, and it looks like another town is paying that same person, I'll say 30 something. Different towns can have different lines on their budget where that person's actually getting other income for other jobs that they do that you don't actually have a good way of knowing.
Sure.
So it's hard to sometimes compare job function to job function, town to town. But the
I agree.
information that Jim sent out is pretty wide variety of
Mhm.
pay.
I agree. I also believe that every town has its unique situation in terms of, the requirements for the elected officials. Someone mentioned in a text earlier about, the assessor position. In some towns, that's an elected position. In other towns, it's a very small job because of the population. And in our town, we have a good sized population, but we have the New York City Reservoir to deal with all the time. So, there are other factors that come into it that differentiate us from other towns is what I'm getting at. So what do you want to do here? Because we can sit on all day.
I'll make a motion that we raise the supervisor position to 58,000 and hold all other elected officials at the 2021 salary range.
I'll second that.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
David, Scott?
I'm good.
Okay, sounds like everybody's in agreement there.
I will abstain because it's my position. It's kind of embarrassing. I'm asking everybody to keep notes because we don't have our bookkeeper here. She's out sick. And
And the increase was 2.5%? That you put in these?
overall from the contractual, yeah. Okay. I will make that note. We freeze the other elected officials and we increase the supervisor to 58,000. All right. There is a summary in here on the next page of the budget. You can see it's pretty straightforward. We are looking at appropriations of $6,217,000 and $6,217,622. Plus estimated revenues of $866,101, less the unexpended fund balance of $500,000, and the amount to be raised by taxes as $4,851,521. Boy, oh boy. I did want to point out that does include the assumption of, we put in the library, figuring if that passes, that's in there. That can always come out if it doesn't pass. If we move ahead in the budget worksheet to page 1, you can see all of the revenues have been adjusted. Let me go through a couple of them. You can see some of the adjustments that were made and what the new ones are. Oh, like on AO 1120, we had 136,521, and I'm sorry, that's the actual for about 6 months. The 2021 modified budget amounts for 215,000. We're budgeting 240,000, so we bumped that up a little bit. I'm going down the lines here.
I have a concern on page 2.
Let's go to page 2.
I
Very
brought it
active.
up. I brought it up at the preliminary when it was handed out. I think the permits revenue budget may be too high.
Yeah, I had that flagged as well.
So if you look at that, it was doubled from the 2021 modified budget, $25,000 to $50,000. And if you look at the 21 actual amounts for around 6-7 months, you're looking at 47 to 88,000 year to date. The reason that we felt comfortable with that was that one, it shows you how many more building permits were issued this year from a revenue standpoint. But also what that number doesn't reflect is that we are working on a fee schedule to increase our building fees. And the entire fee schedule will be gone up at least I don't have the number in front of me, but I'm going to say 20 to 30% on some of them.
If everything being equal, I think the number is high. So if you've got fees coming that offset that, I think we're okay then.
Yeah, that was, Janice is not one to
No,
give us a lot of revenue. She's pretty conservative about it. And that was what we discussed. And she was comfortable with it when she saw the proposed fee schedule that I'm working on.
okay.
Okay. Anything else on that page?
Actually, back on page 1, we jumped ahead before I got a chance to say the
Sure.
AO 2025, the special rec facility charges.
2025. Yes.
Do we anticipate keeping that kind of like this year's is incredibly high, but that's still quite a large jump in the budget.
Yeah, that's up
anticipate
to,
that staying up that high, or
she put that up at 13,000. That is a big jump. It's a good point. But we're reflecting our year-to-date pool fees, which were $12,268, and that doesn't reflect through the end of the summer, I don't believe.
Right.
So she felt pretty comfortable in that. Plus, we are raising as we are working on the short-term rental, January 1st, we're supposed to have a pretty big fee for short-term rentals. In other words, if you have a short-term rental in the town, you're required to buy an annual fee, and that'll be $500. So we're looking at that, again, the fees will go up. If you want, I can look at that number and ask Janice what she thinks.
What other things go in that? Does that include fees for like the park and things like that?
Let me just see here. Yes, that includes the park, which we also had increased fees for uses of the pavilions this year. I believe, oh, wait a minute, hold on a second. No, I believe it's mostly the pool.
So
I'm having Janice on, I don't know that detail for sure.
if the actual for this year is 12,268, 13 doesn't seem out of order to me.
No. I can ask her about that.
That's only probably through September or August or September, right?
The
It's-
actual pool fees that are showing on the town clerk's yearly thing is 14,441, I believe.
so
Let me just look at it again.
What is that through, Dawn, do you know?
Well, that, my records would be through, my records right now are up until October. So.
Okay, so that's pretty much it
It's
for the year.
14,881, and that is what I said the pool took in.
There we go.
That might not
Yeah,
be
the-
unreasonable then. All right, I'm fine then.
I think it's
Okay.
And if that's pool fees, that does not include the park rental, that all goes under parks. I
Right.
don't know if that's the same thing that goes here though, but in my categories, we put that under parks. Not the pool.
That would be AO to 2001 Park and Recreation charges, right?
Probably, yeah. I can
Okay.
tell you what that was if you want to know.
Do we know
That
what date
was-
the actual amounts go through? I was sort of assuming it was through at least end of August, but I
What's
wasn't
that?
sure. The actual amounts, the 2021 actual. Is that through
I
July
would
or
say
through
it's- I
August?
would think it's August.
I believe that is August.
Janice's
Okay.
expenditure was for, the last report she gave you was for 8/31. But the amount I'm giving you, I'm looking at my end of the year report. And that would give you right up to date,
Okay,
all right? Because up until we put it in as we collect it. And when we do a debt bank deposit, it gets put in on our spreadsheet. So,
Okay.
Parks was 5,070 to date. So,
I also thought planning board fees could probably go up a little bit, but probably not significantly. So I don't know if it's worth adjusting or not.
yeah,
I mean, I was only thinking like maybe like up to 3,000 or something. So it's probably not worth messing with.
I'll play Janice. It's better to underestimate.
Yeah,
revenues.
exactly. I was already trying to be conservative with that, but it's
I hope she's listening in now, getting a good chuckle. All right, can we move on to page 3? Are you guys comfortable where we are?
Yep.
Okay, so we're not going to make any changes in revenue. We usually don't mess with revenue with her too much, but this is a year that we have big changes. She's usually, like she is very conservative. I don't see anything on page 3 that caught my eye.
Nope.
And the mortgage tax is the only one, that big one there that's,
Yes. She did raise that, but you can see where that number went to.
Yeah.
And that's, we also have a large increase in home values, so.
yeah, but a small bump in interest rates and that can come crashing down. So it's better to be conservative.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. We have on page 1 of the budget worksheet, we're through the revenue. And we're on the general fund appropriations, page 1. The town board members we discussed, we're going to keep that hold to previous year.
Mhm.
We have the next is our contractual for the town board. We have Michael Richardson's budget, legal ads, codification, office supplies, et cetera, et cetera. That's still watershed towns. Nothing surprising there. We have the justices. Again, thank you, justices. This was two judges' lines were held. Yeah,
Jim, let me go back to the town board. That codification line, is that for updating the codes? The
I believe
E-codes?
so. But I believe it's for like our town code.
That's what I mean, for updating the town codes.
Yes.
Okay, I wanted to make sure we had a decent amount of money in there for updating it, that's all. Okay, I'm gonna make sure
Okay.
that's where it was. Okay, I'm good.
Yeah, we just updated a lot, so that should be okay. Justices in the, let me get my payroll out here. Hang on. This is what the budget was proposed to us with the Judge 1 and Judge 2. staying the same as 2021.
So I have a question regarding the comparison of neighboring towns and
Yes,
justices. There seems to be a blatant disparity between us and other towns. Is that because they only have one judge?
in terms of,
Salary.
we're higher or lower?
They are lower.
We are lower. And
Yes.
I'd like to ask the justices to open up that a little bit to them. If you can unmute them. Tim, you there?
I'm here and I see Peggy's here as well.
Yes. Well, I know, going in, we had asked not to have, any increases. And I think that that has been, what we've done for several years, and Tim could tell you better than I could. But when we had the discussions about this, we weren't asking for raises because we felt we needed more time for our, the clerks to be able to get some of the changes. And so that's how we sort of balanced it out, if I'm not mistaken. Tim, yes?
Yeah, and you know, this honestly, Scott, I don't want to speak fully for Peggy, but I don't think either of us are in it for the salary. Is it low? Yes. But neither of us are asking for an increase in our own salaries.
Okay.
Okay, if I move on to the next, the clerk, number one, that salary is with the increase of 2.5%, but it does increase the hours. Peggy, what was that? It went from 26 to 28, was that?
It went from 24 to 28.
24 to 28.
We had 26 because of the fact that, because some of the changes that occurred prior, we did have, because of COVID, some hours that hadn't been utilized during the year. So we utilized them at this stage of the year to try to get some of the changes in. One of the things that we saw is they stopped suspending licenses and they had to go back in, and it was very labor intensive, and it still is something that the first that we're talking about is still working on. But in going to a conference that she attended for the clerks in Albany just recently, they released, and I think she shared this information with Dawn, they released some of the new changes that they're going to institute, but still, you know, coming at us a lot quicker than we think. And they're going to need to have more hours to get those things done, because it's additional work that one change is made and somebody else says, oh, okay, well, we can update this. But our poor clerks are trying to stay ahead, doing all the things that they're doing, and then having these new changes put in place. So that's why we asked for the increase in hours for both clerks. One going from 8 to 12 and the other going from originally what was 24, but is now 26, because we're using sort of like negative COVID money that we didn't use in our budget yet, and going up to 28. So does that answer your question?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Thank you.
all the responsibilities and the jobs, it should be no surprise, it's all rolling downhill. And it's on top of everything that had to be done now, you know, including additional reporting on the money and everything else. So,
Correct.
and
Hey,
we're
Peggy, I have a quick
pretty
question for you. Going back to the clerk number 2, that number stays how many hours a week were you planning on that? Did you say
Uh,
14?
From 8 to 12.
8 to 12, okay. And that's your budget number figuring that.
Yes.
Okay,
Uh,
great.
And originally, when I had given you the budget and we talked about this, you called me because the numbers didn't seem to make sense, but I had made an error. And I had put in a number for additional hours up to 30 instead of 28 for clerk number 1.
Right.
We found the error. So that's where that came from. We also have a lot of changes because of the marijuana laws that are going to end up going back and changing some of the paperwork that has been already there, much like the suspension of the driver's licenses. So again, that's coming like at us very fast.
Right. And otherwise, those clerks' hourly rates were figured at the 2.5% increase from their previous year.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Jim, I got one quick question on clerk 1 then. Does going from 24 hours to 28 hours, does that cross the threshold from part-time to full-time status?
No, the full-time status is 30.
Okay, I wasn't sure what that number was. Okay,
We were very aware that if we couldn't cut, that threshold. And again, that's why the number 28 was important, and had made that error made such a impact. So we got that cleaned up when Jim gave me a call.
Drew, we take 29.5 hours per week.
okay.
Okay, anything else on the
29.99.
justices and the contractual or anything? Any other questions?
I'm getting a new road. It's been 16 years. But that's in the budget.
Where is that in there?
It's in there,
Office
I
supply.
don't know, someplace under the supplies.
Oh, that office supplies, $2,500.
Yeah.
All right. How much is the road? $2,400?
Yeah, no, a couple hundred at most. Things
Okay.
looking pretty threadbare.
All right.
It could be like Judge Hughes did and get a tie-dye one.
There you go.
Yeah,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your time. What's that, Peggy?
Does anyone else have any other questions that they would like answered?
No,
Nope, moving on.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you all. Appreciate it. Doing a great job there. Okay. Next page, page 3. We only have about 700 more pages to go. Supervisor, we talked about that. Bookkeeper. We talked about that. That was budgeted.
that number could come down now, right?
No, that was budgeted figuring, oh yeah, that can be modified, yes. I'm sorry, you're right.
Should come down at least 4,000, if not more.
I'll talk to her, to Janice about that. You're right. Because when we made this, we did not have Marlies on board. We did not know what the pay rate, so we just put in Janice's pay rate. So we were there we go. Okay.
And just because of the timing, do you think we're gonna need some of Janice's time next year for training?
Yes, and we approved hiring her, I believe. I have to check my minutes. I'm so overwhelmed this month. I believe we talked about her coming in for $38 an hour as a consultant.
Right.
Remember us talking about that? I believe. we
Yeah.
passed
Is that through the end of the year or is that into next year?
It was after her retirement, which is at the end of this month. So anytime she comes in, it's a consultant type of fee.
Okay.
All right. I don't think it had a contractual end on it, but that's a good point. We should check that.
That'll help compensate for the increase on line one.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, where are we at here? We're at the clerk comes into the 2.5% increase. Emergency management, the deputy clerk. Do we want to keep the deputy clerk at the 1,200 stipend as we did previously? That's what I would
The
recommend.
deputy supervisor.
Yeah, it's a, I'm sorry, deputy supervisor.
Yeah, I think we're
Um,
keeping all those the same.
Drew, you good with that?
Yes.
He did a horrible job, so I'm not so sure.
I'll tell you, he's doing a great job. He keeps me sane. Let's put it that way. We have mileage, office supplies, dues, usual under that. Moving on to page 4, we're really steamrolling along here. We have the auditor. That's a pretty set thing. If you look at that, we had 2021 modified, 21 actual, and we have in the tentative budget $15,000. Any comments on that?
No.
Okay, moving on to 1340.4 budget contract.
About the auditor. Is the 2021 actual amount up to this date?
Yes.
It's probably through August.
Okay.
Yes, and that one, that auditor stuff is stuff that like, you know, can come in and you get, you know, a billing in the last quarter or something. So it's not like an ongoing bill.
No,
Okay. And then the $900 is the software that we use at 1340 on page 5. Moving on to page 6, the assessors is the personnel services at 1355.1. Let me just look at this. I believe that reflects an increase in that hourly. To 30.
Yeah.
And the clerk is going up. The clerk one was, if you recall, I don't know if you recall our conversation with Janice, we looked at that position. That position, we were likely to have a retiree mid-year. That position is figuring out that we will likely have a part-time in that position moving on from there. So that's kind of adjusted to a full-time and a part-time. The assessor's equipment, we put in 5750. We've only used $1,000. Diana doesn't, I think she needs a new something in there. And that's where we're at with that one. The assessor's contractual is pretty straightforward. Consultations, continuing ed, you know, all that stuff is pretty much stuff we roll around every year. Everybody good with page 6?
Yeah.
Moving on to page 7. Town clerk. We have the town clerk position, and we discussed that being staying the same, freezing with as the elected officials. And then we have the clerk to the town clerk. And that was an increase. That position is currently at $18.41. It was proposed for $22.04 per hour on that. So that's a big jump. And any comments?
I was going to ask Dawn, in the past couple of years, haven't asked for a big jump on that position. So I was wondering what the justification for such a big increase in 1 year was?
I just brought her up to match Annie, who hasn't even been here 6 months, is now already over what she's been here for 3 years. Amanda does as much work. She checks in everybody that Annie sees. We go through our office first. We help Annie out a lot in my office, and I think it's a little bit of a, that she deserves it. She handles millions of dollars that go through our office a year. And besides all the others, she's the deputy town clerk. She's a registrar. She's also does records management. She carries many titles. She does a lot of work and helps out other departments. She's doing payroll to fill in as a payroll clerk too, you know, and she's on the tech committee and helps out with everything. And she does it. And I think she deserves to be matching, if not more than any at this point. I think it's only fair to keep them at an equal rate.
So my position on this is that all jobs are not created equal.
Well, then she should be paid more because she handles a lot more than
Okay, let
Annie
me
does.
make my case and then you can speak, okay? Or we'll mute you until I'm finished.
That's fine. Go ahead.
Okay, all jobs are not created equal. People don't do the same job as the assessor or the bookkeeper. Annie's job is created to have one person in that department and take care of a department that needs special attention. So when we hired her, we let her know that that was a trial period and then she would get an increase. And it was determined by the town board that that was a valid increase for her. I don't like comparing people and pitting people against each other for a salary or wage increase. But given that, I will wholeheartedly support that Amanda does a lot of work and she does a great job. But this is about the position and as well. So, you know, it's comparing apples to oranges and we need to compare, you know, that to what it's worth. And when we look at other towns, there's a comparison of what other clerks make in other towns. Go ahead.
Well, I think that Amanda does a lot more extra stuff in our office that are not required of the position she's in. She steps up and does a lot of things and helps out Annie a lot in that department. So if Annie is worth that, then Amanda's worth that because Annie comes to us to answer all her questions. Now, I know she's new and eventually she won't be doing that, but she does that now. And a lot goes, Annie comes out and we help her with a lot of stuff. Plus, we also, you know, help check every single person in that comes into the offices, comes through my office. And we have to go running for everybody else's department. I just think that it's only fair. And I know you don't want to compare it, but it's not apples and apples or the way you said it, but Amanda does a lot more.
Okay, let me stop you there. Brenda was working. She was making 24, whatever that 2403 rate was. And she did the same amount of work. And Annie is making less than Brenda.
Brenda was there 20 years. Brenda was
So-
there 20, you just said that somebody coming in should not be making what somebody who had been there 20 years was making. Brenda was making that because she was there 20 years.
Right, and Brenda was
She was
making
there a
that.
long time. And
Yes,
Amanda has been there 3 years longer. And if you're not comparing, I understand that, I get that, but I just think that it's, you know, it's like a slap in the face to Amanda, and not only Amanda, but Sierra, because you're going to get to Sierra, and Sierra she's now making more than Sierra. And I know it's a bit of slap in the face. You know?
I'd like to hear from the town board a little bit.
I think 16% is an awful lot. I mean, if, again, not to compare between different positions and different employees, that's just a really big jump in 1 year. And unless I mean, unless we're really trying to right size and we say that that was woefully inadequate all this time, it just seems a little much.
Yeah, that's the real question was,
Well, let me just
Listen,
tell you, when Susie
I was talking,
retired,
Dawn, I was
I'm-
talking.
I'm sorry,
But-
Drew.
Yeah, the one question we have to ask ourselves was the position of deputy clerk underpaid for the last couple of years? And I think it's always important to look at the position and not the person in the position.
I get that. And if you're looking at the position, when the position was Susan Henderson, she was making $27 an hour. Susie was making as much as I was. 30 years on the job, I get that. So I never argued with you, but to have somebody come in and then now tell Amanda that that woman does more work than she does, or is of more value in her department than Amanda is in mine, when Amanda is constantly helping her out. To me, it's wrong.
Well, I have to say, comparing people is also wrong. We should be looking at the positions and not at the individuals. And I agree that a 16% increase is extraordinarily large.
But I think the increase is actually 20%.
Yeah, it's like I calculated 19.2.
All right,
Oh.
so.
What is she
so
at now?
I
18?
understand,
Okay. Sorry.
I understand both sides of this argument. And that's what happens when times change and we hire new people for different positions. I think there's an increase that could be allowed there, but 20% is extreme.
I'd also like to make a point about longevity and what that dollar amount means. When you get paid an increase, there is a little bit of that for experience, that you're getting an increase, but you're also getting an increase to keep up with the cost of living. So when you go out and look at a job, what is that job worth today? And what will the market bear? And when someone takes a job at a certain pay rate and they're happy with it, and then somebody else comes in and jobs are more pricey now, it's harder to get people and keep them. Those increases that we had should reflect what the current market rate for that job is. Somewhat, plus a little bit of extra for the longevity. So I'm very much willing to give Amanda an increase over the 2.5%. I just don't feel it's appropriate to start pitting people against each other. Anyone else on the board?
Agreed.
I agreed with that. I don't know what the right number is in between though.
So, let me see if I come up with anything. So she's at 1841. You guys had some comparisons of other towns, I believe, right?
Mhm.
I don't have that information in front of me,
It puts her at the high end,
as it is.
equal with the high end. Woodstock's much higher, but I don't want to speak to
Everyone
Woodstock.
For instance, what does Shandaken pay their deputy town clerk? I don't know. I don't have
The
that.
salary,
spread.
32.8. So that
Oh,
comes
okay.
out to about 16-ish
Yeah,
per hour. Rochester's at 18.9, so a little higher. And Plattekill is only 16.2. Seems crazy low.
Woodstock is 22 and change.
mhm.
I certainly think we can go up to. I did a quick calculation. Sorry, let me pull that up
A
again.
5%, a 5%.
That's what I was looking
increase.
at. It's 42 cents. So if you want to call it something more even, maybe 19, which is a little more than 5. 5% would be 1883.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll even up that ante more, because I see Dawn shaking her head there, and I understand that Amanda has great value. That position is an important position. It had more people previously. So I would suggest that we bring it to $20 an hour.
That's the number I was thinking about.
That seems right to me. I would agree to that.
Won't object.
What's the current salary for that position, dollar wise? Is it 1842,
1841, I believe.
1841?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, it's like a little over 8.5% increase. Okay,
8.5% increase is pretty good.
yeah,
Yeah.
Hold on a second. Let me just write that down. You know, I could spend all day going from each position and saying who does a better job and how we should adjust their rates according to what I think. But, you know, this is not that. This is the position.
I've worked here 30 years. Okay, and in those 30 years, when I was getting paid hourly, I was working more, I was years ahead of people, and everybody was being brought to whatever I was. So I just don't think it's right. I'm still not happy with it. I'm happy that you're seeing her worth and that it should, and that, yes, I did take a decrease in an employee too this year. We cut out, Brenda used to be in the office. This is the first year I gave her up to go into the building department. And that means that Amanda's got to step up and do stuff, more stuff, that there wasn't another clerk there. So I still don't agree, but I'm happy you're giving her something, but it's still, I don't see that where it's fair.
So
Well,
my
I look
question,
at it. I'm sorry, go ahead, Scott.
my question to you then, why didn't you want to hire at a bigger rate and why didn't you fight for it?
Well, if I had known I'd been going through this, I would have fought for it a lot more.
I mean,
So,
you know,
do it at that $20, and then I'll.
you know, I can't have every time that we hire
Put it in
someone.
for a lot more next year.
You can do that. And what I'm suggesting is I cannot look at every time we want to hire somebody and having everyone in the office commenting about how they should get more money. That's not going to work. It just doesn't. And I appreciate so much what Amanda does. Every time I've asked her to do something, she's there for me. And I hope that doesn't discontinue. But I am trying to give her the increase of what I feel is fair. And an 8% increase is pretty damn good. So what did we increase to $20 per hour, right?
Just
Everybody good with that?
300.
Okay, thank you. Moving on. Let's get to the next one. Let's see, we have Dawn, you have equipment here. Is that number in the tentative going to suffice? I see you're up to 2332 for your 1401.2 and your equipment.
My tentative is only 1350. That's going to be fine.
That's going to be fine? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Legal ads, 150, is that enough? We've been putting a lot of them
Yeah,
in this year.
Yeah, but it doesn't come, that doesn't come out of my budget, it comes out of your budget.
Okay, all right.
Those legal ads are for tax preparation and for taxes.
Gotcha, okay. Rabies clinic, we're doing that this year?
We're gonna try.
And has that, we charge for that? Is that something that always, we end up
No.
spending more on?
It was usually if I get a vet, the vet, I have to cover the costs. The vet donates their services, but I have to pay
Okay.
for the rabies shots. And then the time for, staff and everything has to be there because they're going to get, that's usually done on a weekend. And then there's the mailing that goes out. So
Gotcha. Okay,
that might even be under what I need. So I'll have to see. I was going off the last time I did it and I didn't, and that was back in 2015.
but that should suffice, you feel? Should we increase it?
We'll see. We'll see.
Are we required to do a rabies clinic?
No, we're not. I try to do it every few years because sometimes people ask for it and
Do we
And
know
it helps us to license our dogs. At the same time, we catch dogs that are not licensed and we get them licensed at the same time.
Do we know how many people we attended last time?
I do not have that number off my head now.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing, it's in the public interest to have rabies clinic. I get that.
Yeah.
And also, when we pick up dogs that are unlicensed, they're required to get rabies shots to get the license, correct, Dawn?
Yes, you cannot license a dog without a valid
Right.
rabies certificate.
Any more discussion on the rabies? Okay. Attorney, contractual. We had 97,000 in 2021, 97.2 in 2021, and we're keeping that at 97,200.
That's a smart idea.
It's a smart idea because we have lots of crazy stuff coming down the pike.
Yep. That's
Engineer?
where all of Dan's costs come out of, right? Dan
The what?
Hepner. That's where Dan Hepner's
Yes, I believe so.
cost
yeah.
comes out. Okay, good.
Engineer contractual, we keep that in there for any kind of jobs we have. We have a lot of stuff we're looking at coming up that could easily use that money. Everybody good with that? Page 9?
Yep.
Page
Brian's
10,
trying to get your
records
attention, I
management.
think.
What's that, David?
I think Brian's trying to get your attention.
Oh, Brian's trying to get my attention over there. I can't hear him. Can he unmute himself?
Yeah, you should be able to. There he goes.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now, Brian. Did we-
It was just a quick question, and I said, just going through the proceedings, I said, I haven't been through in the highway aspect of things as far as legal, but I know we did expend Dan Hepner's expenses at a highway for the UniFirst procedure. But that was my question. I said, I know that was expended initially. We're getting reimbursed a good portion of it, but my question is legal attorney fees a general fund or a highway expense?
That is general, and I was told by Janice that those legal fees come out of highway because it was a highway, issue.
I can understand that, but at the same token, the town board negotiates the highways union contract, and it was a question to mine. Obviously, if it's something blatantly highway, I get it, but I said this is an approved benefit of the highway employees, and I just didn't know where legal really, if it should have come out of highway or it should have come out of this attorney, because I do not have anything related to a attorney in my highway line. So it's just a question moving forward.
I will bring that up to, I will ask Janice.
Okay, thank you.
Because you do not have a highway line for attorney.
Correct. So I just said it's just something if I have to establish but like I said, in my eyes, this is a negotiated contract, by the town board for highway 3-year contract and for uniforms, and it just I just want clarity on it. That's all. If it's something that I need to budget for moving forward, so be it. But
Yep.
just want clarity on it.
Okay.
Thank
Great.
you.
The last time I talked to her, she was clear that it came out of highway, but I'll get a little more detail on it.
Yeah, but the money that we get back, we put that in the general fund.
Touche, that was pretty good. Okay,
It's management.
Tim Cox signed off and said, good night, everyone. Seen that. Records management, we have on the point 1, we have nothing in because we have nothing in there because it's under the clerk position there. The 1460, we have $500 in there. And for the contractual, we have 3,000. And you can see that breakdown. That's pretty standard stuff that we go through every year.
Mhm.
You're comfortable with that, Dawn? Those numbers? Okay.
As long as you remember at the money grab to put more into my reserve for microfilming, because that's going to be coming up. Amanda's got a lot of work to do with that.
When does that come up, Dawn?
It comes up every 5 years, when I have 5 years worth of documents that need to be microfilmed.
Okay.
Is there anything in the future where microfilm goes away and something else takes its place?
Well, we could digitize, but it costs more to digitize.
Okay,
And we could all our microfilm can be switched over to digital, but again, that's going to cost. So we just keep microfilming because it's cheaper.
okay.
One day we might come to that and decide that it's worth it, right? Okay.
Has anybody done a cost analysis of the difference?
Whoops, Dawn, you're muted. I can't hear you.
I'm sorry,
Oh, go ahead.
Vicky, was that a question?
Yeah. Has anybody done a cost analysis of the difference between digitizing and microfilm?
Sylvia did it, and made a whole thing about the value the cost of it because of the amount of documents we have.
Mhm.
And I've talked to archivals, records management in the state, and the amount, I tell them where I'm at, and they agree that it's best to stay with the microfilm
Okay,
because our documents is not that many. It's
Right.
not as heavy as some places.
And how often do we go back to microfilm to find something?
Pretty often.
Do we?
Yeah, more often than you think.
Wow,
Yep. Especially
Okay.
from the building department.
right. Okay, Board of Ethics. $100, that's the usual thing we put in there. Public information and services, this is a new line created. 1480.1, we put in 2 stipends in there for a website coordinator and for a social media coordinator at $1,200 per stipend. And then also we have the website in for public info and services for $5,000. All right.
what's the
We-
social media coordinator? What is that?
We are working our way with the technology committee, and at my request, we've been looking at and we also have the policy in place to
Mhm.
have a social media presence on Facebook and maybe Instagram. And we need somebody to manage that.
Thanks.
That would probably be a stipend for a current employee, each of those? Is that what we're
Yes.
guessing? Okay.
Yes. Buildings, personal services. This is our facilities manager and the labor for under the .1. For equipment, we have on the .2. And then the .4 is all of the other stuff.
Under cleaning, our new contract is slightly more. I calculated out, it would come out to about 15,600. We only have 12 in that line.
Good point.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, I had spoken to Janice. Obviously, you guys made a decision, so that does need to be adjusted. We put the number in there because we were not sure where we were gonna be.
What did you say that number?
15,600 if
15,600?
yeah, that was based on the 300 per week, I believe is the contract we
Okay.
selected.
Right.
Yep, yep. All right. Good catch. All right. Yeah. Usually we cut money, now we're adding money. Central communications, that's the telephone system.
Let me go back to this line, and it's a general question across the board. Because fuel is going up, have we done what we need to do in all the budget lines, wherever they are, to deal with the increase in fuel?
I don't think so. I got it. I have it addressed down the road when we get to that page.
Right, I mean, there's an $8,500 line here for propane and fuel oil, and I don't know whether that's. What do you think, Gene?
That's something we'll have to look at. I don't see Gene on here if he.
He's-
I'm
Oh, there
here.
he is.
I'm here.
Yeah.
You know, obviously.
Can you address
know,
that, Gene?
Well, spoke to Janice with that as well. You know, right now the trend is going up faster than what both of us thought. So Drew makes a great point. And right now, if you're paying attention to what's going on in the world, they're saying it's going to go higher. So it
Yep.
does probably need to be increased. We know what our heating costs are for the highway garage, roughly. Scott, you can figure that out if you want. But it will need to be increased based on the current trend. Fuel oil last year for this Legion Hall was significantly less because the building was not used.
Right.
I don't know if that'll be the same case this year. But I kept the thermostat at 55 most of the winter. Which, you know, saved us a lot of money. But even if I did the same thing, it still would cost us more because the cost of fuel's up.
Right. Okay. I will talk to Janice about that. I'll take a look at that and see where we are year to date. And take that into consideration. All right. Central Communications, next page, page 14. That's the telephone. Magna and Spectrum. We got Spectrum now at the police station.
Can I just ask a question? And Tom Plants brought it up, what the savings was for the fire department. Is there any particular reason that the town has never switched to digital phone versus copper?
I was gonna
There
talk
was
about
a
that the next
reason
meeting,
for-
probably.
Voice over IP of that nature?
We've talked about it. We talked to our telephone consultant. He recommended that we don't because of power outages and things like that. But I think that we should be, I will address that next year.
Because you still have phone issues, right? Like when in a heavy rain. And
We always have
like
phone
that.
issues.
Yeah, so I mean, that's another reason to switch. You're not reliable now.
Right, and
Yeah,
you
there
can
was a
still-
reason for it. I got to look into that a little.
You can still maintain some copper lines for fax machines if in fact that you did have an outage, you would still have some operational phones in some key areas. Those would still be copper lines for those machines. I'm just throwing it out there that I think it, first off, service and secondly, cost.
Okay, we'll look into it. We have a new guy that does the phones, and I'll see what he has to say. All right, printing and mailing. Contractual.
I was just looking at this and there's no increase in January, but they're expecting a large increase in postage rates in July. For what that's worth.
July 2022, 2022. Yeah, thank you. Let me make a note of that here. When you say a large increase, what are you saying?
They were just saying substantial from the couple articles I was reading about it. And I know DeJoy was in front of Congress and said expect large increases upcoming.
Yeah, he may
As well
not
as
be,
everything getting slower,
he may not be in charge that much longer.
you know.
Oh, that's that guy, yeah. Right. All right, moving on. I will look at that. Data processing, contractual. It looks like we're right in the thing there. That's all of the stuff we use for the office, for payroll, for accounting software, for our technology. HRT blocks of time for all of the services they provide. They've been pretty good. That's pretty straightforward.
At one time, we talked about maybe looking at somebody different than Paycheck. Is that still a possibility, or did?
We
look at
did,
it like they were the best?
we did look at it, but right now it's too late to change and this year, but it is something we discussed and we will be looking at it going forward. There was some savings in there, but until we can really make a decisive move, I'd rather keep the number at the current Paychex number. Unallotted insurance. I'm going to stay with that number, I think. And that's something that Janice looks at. Moving on to 18, municipal association dues, association of town. That's pretty straightforward. Contingent, 75K, that's bumped up a little bit, a few $1,000s there. I think that's a smart thing with all of these things we're seeing, these possible increases.
Is that-
Police
and
budget.
You and Janice feel that that's adequate, though? I mean, we've been right around 75,000 for several years now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me go into the police budget here. Any comments on the police budget?
Just the equipment line, we don't seem to actually spend much out of there. Despite the budget being pretty high. So I'm just wondering what the logic of that was. We expecting, and we expect
also-
a vehicle next year, right? Eventually.
Right, well, we always budget for like a certain amount for the vehicle. And like this year, we have 20,000 in there for the vehicle. And you can see we've only spent 2,900
Right.
year to date because we didn't buy the vehicle yet.
Never coming in.
I keep hearing it's coming in. I have not seen a vehicle there yet, but we are due to get a hybrid, so.
I keep hearing the same thing.
Right, Drew?
You know what happened to we don't have the details on their budget on this sheet. Do you know what happened to that?
To what?
Well.
Oh, you didn't get the budget of the police department breakdown? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
think
I mean, usually it's on this sheet and I'd have to go back to my folder to find the breakdown, but
I have the, well, I don't have the, hang on a second. I have it here, and I can scan it to you guys and send it. In personnel services, we, in 2021, we budgeted 227,427,095 and this year it is 233,511.95. So that went up. There were some increases in the rates of pay, and I believe there were some changes a little bit, I think, in the holiday thing. So that's what that reflects. The budget for the equipment is 24,200. That stayed the same from last year.
Mhm.
And from 2020, it's up $1,000 from 2020. It's been consecutive for 2 years. And then the contractual went from 44,176 to 43,371. Actually went down a little bit.
okay.
There was a little bit of a decrease in ammo. Trying to think where that, oh, there was a decrease in the uniform cleaning. 200 and some dollars. So yeah, I mean, there was minor increases. There was an increase in body camera. We have a lot of body cameras now, and that was put in for 2,000. It's $3,300 last year. We're down to $2,000. So I thought that was pretty good budget actually coming from the police department.
That's good.
Traffic control equipment. You know, we bumped that up last year. Brian, we bumped it up. Remember, we talked about signs. And I wonder if you could unmute yourself and let me know if we need that much.
Can you hear me, Jim?
I can, yes.
Yes, sir. I'll be honest with you. I do believe we did bump that up, and I actually just inquired to Janice, and I know there was a lot of additional signage in parks and whatnot, but in reflect to highway standpoint, we have been swapping out a lot of old road signs, bring them up to date with a new prismatic, so that the sight of these signs is more improved, and it's something that we have to do. And I actually are in desperate need of making a end of the year order. And Sierra just talked to Janice the other day what was remaining, and I do have a large sign order. We had a bunch of road signs in town again this year, and it's always a group of kids or whatever, but we had a lot of stolen road signs again, and we're bringing them up to date with the current size that they need to be visible. But I think that needs to remain where it's at. I think where we brought it to last year is where it needs to remain. There's always room for needing more, but I think we can operate within that. I don't, in my eyes, I don't see decreasing that at all.
Okay.
We went into, from a safety standpoint, a lot of breakaway stuff, shear bolts and whatnot that needs to be had. I think I brought up last year, I said a lot of I'm going to say 95% of our road signs are actually installed backwards from a shear factor. And, anyway, we're updating all that, and it's a work in progress. So I would say leave that where it's at from my point of view.
So you spent like 1972 in 2020. The modified in 2021 was 3,500. It's been 400. You have a sign order coming in, so you'd like to keep it at 3,500. So we look good for going into the next year. I do want to mention that we did discuss that Moonhaw Road. We were denied the signage for a speed posting, but I was hoping maybe at some point we could look at some of these areas where we're getting a lot of these calls, and maybe throw a sign up or two to try to help alleviate some of the traffic speeding.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I said, we've got a repetitive, I have anyway. I don't know if your office has. The Silver Road is another tough situation. If anybody knows that road, a lot of people come off the hillside off Upper Boyce Hill, and it's a very short road. And to post that, it's kind of a waste of time in my eyes, but I think maybe some slow signs or something to catch the motorist's eyes and keep everybody safe on the road. I agree. And there's a lot, like Moonhaw as well, Jim. There's a lot of unique turns and curves, and but I agree.
Yeah. Okay. We'll keep it there. Control of dogs. The modified for 2021 was $2,000. The contractual on 0.4 was 3,000. We kept that at 3,000. That all staying the same. We've been doing okay on there. Any comments on that?
Nope.
Moving along here. Okay, safety inspection. This is our building inspector. The 2020 was 31,168. The 2021 was modified to be up to 40,875, and the 22 is now at 46,568. Their building inspector number one was at $9,328 in 2021, I believe. Let me just verify that. Yes, and what I'm looking at, what was asked there by the building department was to increase that to $15,000. And the inspector number two was at $18.35 per hour and wanted to, that was increased to $25 per hour. And the clerk was 1881. Well, actually, I don't know that number. I shouldn't say that.
Those seem like big increases too.
Those are big increases, but the amount of work that is on that building department has been overwhelming.
Oh, I know.
And they want to be paid more for the time they spend out there. It's a pretty big jump, but I'm willing to have that discussion with everyone. I'm not totally supportive of it that much.
Yeah, the key is we pay them a salary, basically, not by the hour. And I guess they're putting in a lot more hours now than they used to.
Well, that
So
was,
we paid the building inspector and the zoning officer, code enforcement officer, each a salary, and then we pay the building inspector, who is the code enforcement officer, an hourly to assist the building inspection.
Okay.
So it's kind of an as needed thing. I'm gonna open that up for discussion. If we were to take let's go on the 01. If we were to take the building inspector was 9,328, at 2.5% increase would be $9,561. Now they're asking for a big jump.
Are
Comments?
they, do we know what the increase in hours actually are?
They don't record that for us.
Okay.
I mean, I do
'Cause
on the hourly, but I don't have that data
Yeah.
with me.
I know he's doing a lot more hours, so he definitely deserves more. I don't know if he's doing 50% more hours.
Right.
So it's a little hard to say what that scale is. It is a huge jump.
yes.
Anybody want to make a suggestion?
So how did he come up with the figure? Was that presented? This is the number I came up with based on, or did they just throw a number at it?
I think they threw a number at it. But I don't know that for sure. But I'm pretty sure that this was like, we have two people who are really swamped with work, and we're really struggling to keep that department going the way it, to keep things in order. I feel good with the new personnel there, but I do, it needs to be helped. I think, I did speak to them the other day. I said, I want you to guys to start thinking about how you want to proceed in the next year or two. And, there was conversation that if we do a short-term rental law and that requires more inspections, that we hire somebody based on a fee that we would receive for that. But we don't have that law yet. And it's a little bit hard to project what that would be. We're still waiting on the data from Ulster County for the short-term rentals in the town of Olive that are registered. So I'm looking at that thinking, that it's a little bit, it's a liberal jump. Let's put it that way. I'm waiting for a counter offer.
I'll throw out a number 12.5.
12.5. There you go. Any other comments?
It would be, I know that they're working a lot, but it would be useful to know how much more than the previous year there were just
Yeah.
for the salaried person. Actually, for both of them, it would be useful to know that. And I'm sure they have records of
they do not have great records in terms of how much time they spend. You know, this is really something that, you know, John goes to planning board meetings, they go to ZBA meetings, they go to, you know, there's just a lot of stuff. They go to complaints, they go to all of the stuff they have to do for people coming in with plans and building plans and so forth. So if I were to ask them that, they'd ask more money to try to ascertain that.
That's probably true.
I don't want to put any more burden on them in terms of what we're asking them to do.
Yeah, I
I
was
think that
thinking of-
eventually we would be looking at this as hiring a full-time position
Mhm.
as we move on into the future. I don't think we're there yet. We're right in the middle of craziness. It would be hard to bring someone in, but I am engaging them in that conversation weekly. And it's moving slow. They don't have the time to entertain it right now. So an offer was put out there by Mr. Ettinger to suggest that we bring that to 12.5. They do both get health benefits. We made a resolution this past year and last year and previous years to make an exception to our benefits package to include those two positions. So they're both into their 70s and they you know, or I don't want to disclose any of their personal information, but you know, they do use the benefit.
Okay.
So there is value there is what I'm getting at.
It's a good percentage of their income and health benefit.
Yeah, I don't know what that number is. I could look that up, but I don't have that number here.
So if we go with what David said on the first line, note line 1, then for the same percentage increase, line 2 would be 6885. Call it 6,900. I didn't realize
the-
it's a big difference in the two.
The second one is handled because if he's working more hours, he's getting paid more to some extent. I mean, I
Right,
can
because
see
he's
some
hourly.
increase, but as an hourly position, it doesn't work the same way.
Okay, I got you.
Well, I wouldn't object to 12.5 for the
Yeah.
for Inspector 1. What is the hourly rate for Inspector 2?
It was 1835. And I believe we're looking at 25 there.
$18.35 an hour to 25 an hour?
Yeah,
That's
No
No.
way.
I mean, similar to our earlier discussion, I think we'd be looking at 20, maybe 20, 50 tops.
So if we split the difference in the percentage, I would say 20, 25.
$20.25.
Yes. I think so. Let me look again.
I lost you.
Okay, let me look again just a second.
I lost you in the math there, but
Yeah. I know. I'm looking at my math again. That's wrong.
you know, and I can tell you that I look at that. I look at when those bills come in from the second position monthly, and they're like rarely over $200. You know, he doesn't put that many hours in, and you also look at it, and you know, to try to get somebody to work for $20 an hour in a construction field that's knowledgeable. The one thing those guys have going for them, you know, I'll bargain for them a little bit. They've, you know, when we were talking about experience, this is a very specialized experience that they have. They both have years and years of doing this. So there's value in that. It's not something that anyone can just come in and start doing. It takes a lot of training. It takes a lot of certification. So there's a lot of that in this job that those two have. And there was a whole new building code that came out in 2020, and we just got this year that we just got the hard copies for a few months ago. So, you know, they have to upgrade themselves on that.
So what happened from last year to this year that requires him to get a $8 an hour increase?
Good point. Good point.
Looking at the other towns from the spreadsheet, you had only 2 other towns had a second building inspector.
Mhm.
The values there are 2279 for Plattekill and 2969 for Woodstock.
Right.
So I think Woodstock's always a little crazy, but so it's not entirely out of line for the position.
Oh, I disagree.
I
It would,
disagree.
it would be cheaper for the town to go and pay a part-time, brand-new building inspector and get rid of the health insurance.
Mhm.
True. The health
So-
insurance definitely skews the equation.
Right. So what if we made it 2167, which is half of the increase that they were looking at?
I think it's still too much. I did.
It should be the same percentage as what we just talked about with
Yeah.
the other.
$20.50 is an 8.9%, or yeah, an 8.9% increase. I think that's as high as we'd want to go.
What number
In
was
my
that?
opinion, $20.50 is a 8.9%. Just from the precedent we've set already, I think that would be.
And what is the difference between 9328 to 12.5? That's more. than
It's
equal.
different though, because he's working extra hours. We're
Oh,
reflecting
okay,
the
right,
hours,
right,
not
right,
an
right.
increase.
You're
in
right. Yeah,
pay.
it's- we can't.
And it's
compare it.
salaried.
Okay. That's as high as you want to go, right?
That's my opinion.
Okay,
Mine too.
Mine too.
I'm good with that.
Okay. Very good. The clerk is 3 days in the building department, and that's the number based on, I gotta look at that. I gotta check with that, okay, on the O3.
Her other portion shows up under zoning.
Right. I just don't know. I want to make sure that we have the correct hourly in there for that. All right. Safety inspections. Equipment, that's the 0.2, that's 200. Safety inspection contractual, the supplies, conferences, they do a lot of training, mileage. We do reimburse mileage on that. Code books, miscellaneous, dues, software. Okay. Any questions on that?
No.
Moving forward. We're almost halfway there. Okay. Ambulance. Ambulance contract came in. That was an increase from them, and that is largely attributed to having to pay wages that will be competitive with other surrounding areas. And they felt comfortable with that. Any questions on that?
So it's gone up every year.
Money
And
well
they do a great job. Their call records, they do, and on an average, I would say around 40 calls a month is what I've been looking at. All right, Superintendent of Highways. Here we are back to Mr. Burns. He's kept the same number in that he had in the previous year. And now we can talk about his clerk. He was at 1840 per hour, 1841, sorry, per hour, and the proposed went to 2204. So that was, again, that increase that was the same as the town clerk, the deputy clerk. Any comments on that?
You'd have to look at the same rate. I mean, we can't pay either of them what they deserve, certainly, because I think they're both excellent. So
I again will look at it and say, you know, let's not look at the people, let's look at the position. Maybe Mr. Burns wants to chime in.
Yeah, I will, absolutely, and I totally understand as John spoke before, you have a new hire, and it's very a similar conversation that Dawn spoke of. I look at it from another standpoint, and I'm not going to compare Amanda to Sierra. They're all their offices are busy at a certain time of year. I know the building department's busy. Each department goes up and down what their workload is. I'm just going to speak in respect to my secretary. I personally think she's done a fabulous job in the last couple of years. She's adapted very well. I really think her documentation, and one of the points here is our UniFirst ordeal. She documented this to the hill. We've worked together to narrow in this budget. She's created spreadsheets that I can access very simply to really hone this highway department in. I will say, in the past, since I've been in my capacity, I said we're just shy of $2.7 million in grant funding that we've reined in through the highway office, through the Ashokan Watershed Stream Program, CWC, and it is a ton of work. And I was part of it initially when Sylvia was here, and I know Jim knows, but I said Sierra has really done a fantastic job. My main view on this is I know you have to make these positions enticing to people to want the position. I personally think a little over 3 years ago when she came on that the salary was very low, $15 an hour, I think, but she's proven herself. And I really think a new hire coming in the building department, it all should be a pretty similar rate of pay. And I know I'm not going to sit here and compare. I'm not doing it, but she has done a fabulous job in my department, and I'm advocating for her. And I think it should be a similar rate to the building's secretary. And one of the real crucial points is for employees, a rate of pay that keeps the employee that's doing a good job. You know, that's a real strong view of mine. You know, if similar departments are getting a rate of pay $3-4 an hour or more, it's tough and it weighs on them. And we all know how tough the times are. I said $18 an hour for that position. Yeah, it's probably similar across the board, but you know, you look at Woodstock, you look at the different areas, and I know you brought up different areas, Platic Hill and this one and that one. Every township is unique in its own way. And even from my highway standpoint, my position, I know what I'm dealing with. You would take our area, Woodstock, Shandaken, and the hills from a highway standpoint versus a flat plains area where from highway reference, but I'm not going to get into that. But just from a secretarial standpoint, Sierra has done a exemplary job, and I feel she should be very, very close to what any. I'm not going to mention names, but anyway, I know each position is unique, but she's done a fabulous job and adapted well in the last close to 3 years, and I think it's warranted.
Okay, let's hear from the board, okay?
I think the grant writing is a good argument for compensation. That is a huge skill. I'll definitely give her some credit there. My inclinations are always to keep the raises reasonable, and we can address in another year another similar increase if it's warranted, as opposed to a huge increase at once.
No, I get it, but Dave, I agree with you, but like I said, hire a new person on. And like I said, I'm not gonna sit here and compare, but that this individual has proved herself in the last close to 3 years. You got a new hire on and you had the board has had their agreements with hiring the building position clerk. I get it, but do you know what? We need to keep the good people we have, you know, and take care of them.
I unfortunately think that you could make that argument for every clerk. I mean, so I mean, I heard Dawn and I hear you and I understand, but I think this is too big a race in 1 year.
I'm just gonna ask this question to the board. What is the big wage differential for the building clerk? That you don't think that the town clerk's clerk and the highway clerk is? What does that person do more than mine or Dawn's? I'll throw it out there to the board.
It's a good question.
That's a good question. Valid.
So I think it goes back to, you know, what the economy is like, what we're looking for when that job position is open and what the applicant is looking for. We know that times are harder now to find people. Maybe we had to overpay to get somebody to come work for us. I don't have the answers, but I'm just trying to throw out what I see happening is maybe we just overpaid for a bookkeeper. Did we overpay for a buildings department person? Maybe. I don't know how to fix all that, but to give people raises because another person gets one is not necessarily the answer. And I know that's not what people want to hear. And there's no right or wrong answer. There's ways to look at it. If I think we could pay everybody $1 million, I would love to. But there's just a lot going on here, and that's what happens when salaries are public and people know what's going on in the world.
No, I agree with you 100%, Scott. Absolutely. And I said, I'm not going to sit there and barter against each department, but at the same token, they're very similar duties in different manners and certain times a year that are more busy than others. But I will say, and I think it reflects in my budget, we've really worked well together, and she's been a asset to the highway department. And
If I was looking at positions, I would say the highway clerk and the buildings clerk are very similar in positions. And maybe the highway clerk has more responsibility with manpower, personnel, and all different aspects.
And grant writing.
And grant writing.
And that was, I'll reflect back to the grants, and this is a big thing for me. And I'm glad these opportunities were available and we took advantage of them. I said there was a few several years ago that we missed out on, and I wish we were able to take advantage of. But like I said, it's a team effort, and we've been working super hard, and it takes a ton of work and a ton of time, as I think you all know. But anyway, that's where I'm at. I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to compare every department. Every department's unique in its own way. But anyway, she's done a great job, and I think it's warranted.
Okay, I'd like to hear from more of the board if we can, please. But I will give you my 2 cents if no one's going to pipe in real quick. Yes, similar job skills, different jobs. Okay. First, let's look at, if we keep going back and compare it to Annie's job, that job was posted and available to the 2 people who are now talking about increasing their salaries. that job was available for them to apply to, and none of them applied to it. Okay, all right, wait a second. The other thing is that both of those positions, every day, they see their department head in the morning and at the end of the day, and very often throughout the day. That position in the building department sees the two people that she works for 3 or 4 hours in 1 week. In one day, she sees them, and they come and they go, and it's a madhouse, and it's a very difficult, challenging job. And I can tell you that it's very difficult and challenging because I get nearly every month someone who comes in to me to looking for something that is archived in the building department, and there's problems. That needs a person with the drive and the necessity to stay at that position and overtake those challenges. That makes that job very much different than the other jobs. And I realize those other jobs have particular skill sets and knowledge that need to be acquired as well. I'm recognizing this one for what it is.
I would
Any other
just-
board members before you speak, Ryan? Just let me get the other ones in here,
Yeah.
please.
My natural inclination is to throw money around, but I think as a board, we need to be responsible with the taxpayers' money.
I think one of the problems that we, the board, and maybe Dawn and Brian failed to do along the way is looking at those two positions as to what is the correct pay for those positions. And I think from a taxpayer point of view, trying to do a 20-something% increase or almost a 20% increase in 1 year is not a reasonable thing to do from a taxpayer point of view. I think we're better off bumping them up this year and then take another hard look at it next year to see if they're where they really should be. But to try to do a 20% increase in 1 year is hard to sell to taxpayer. And I fully understand we've got a low tax rate budget at the moment, but still.
Vicky, you're muted.
I've already said, I think it's too much of an increase. I think 20% increase is excessive.
Okay.
So let's
And these
look
aren't
at,
merit increases. These aren't merit increases. If you were giving somebody a raise because they were doing great work, that's a merit increase, but that's not what these are. These
There's
are
no
for-
other place in our budgeting to give a merit, I don't believe.
No, I understand that. I understand that. But we need to remember that we do have a responsibility to taxpayers and expect everybody to do a really great job. So I just think it's too much. of a-
And at the same time, we need to pay people what they're worth
And
Absolutely.
keep good people.
to keep the good people.
I agree with both of those things, but I agree also that we should take a hard look at next year, maybe doing a similar amount percentage increase. But to put it all in 1 year, I think is, if I were looking at it as a taxpayer, I wouldn't be at all happy.
I would also like to bring up, do we have the comparisons to the other towns?
we do.
Yeah, it's there's
Yeah.
not a lot there for the highway. Woodstock's at 2187, Platicille's at 1818. Shandaken has a salary of 29,250, which is substantially lower, kind of
Yeah.
awfully low. I wouldn't pay
So,
anyone
you know,
this
I don't think I think we're right in the middle there.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, at, you know, the 1841, they asked for 22. I would give it the same as Amanda. I would propose that. What did we give Amanda? I even forget now at this point.
20, wait a minute, I just had it.
20.
20.
20,
Right. Yeah,
yeah.
No, and like you said, Jim, these are, each position is totally different, and just to reflect back to you what you commented on. the position was open for anybody to put their application on. My view on this, would you want your secretary applying for this and losing her? Or your clerk, or however you, I don't see how it would be beneficial to one department losing their employee to another position for, I think they should be very similar. They're very similar jobs, like I said before, and I think they should be similar in pay. And to bring somebody in that much more an hour, that somebody that's proven himself in the last 3 years, I don't agree.
I would like to say too, I agree with Brian that they're all clerical jobs. All right. And, but you talk about they had the opportunity to apply. I already lost one deputy to that department. All right. I'm very happy that I don't have to train another deputy because they go run into the building department. So, you know, so Amanda should be penalized because she chose to be loyal to the town clerk's position. I don't think that was fair. So just commenting about they had the opportunity, but I did lose one deputy who was full-time in my office until she got over into the building. So.
You're muted, Jim.
Yeah, you,
Let me comment on that real quick, okay? To think that someone's penalized when we're offering them a raise over the 2.5% is outrageous, okay? We are not penalizing anybody by paying someone more. That's a total misapplication of what's going on here.
I will say one more thing, contrary to what I said before. Because the proposed tax rate right now is pretty low compared to past years, we do have an opportunity to correct things if we think somebody's being underpaid and it not have a significant tax increase to our taxpayers. Whereas if we were at 3 or 4%, we would probably be having a very different conversation about all this right now. So that is another viewpoint, that we could take the bump this year instead of trying to spread it around.
Like I said, I'm just throwing it out there on the work she's done in this past year. And like I said, she's right around 3 years right now and proven herself, and that's where I'm at. And like I said, we're all gonna say the same thing. Each department has different amounts of work at different times of the year, at different times when they come into the job, and so on and so forth. And I can speak, Sierra came in and adapted well. It was a new field for her and a training session for me. And like I said, it's different when you walk into a position and have somebody that's been there for 20 years, you know. Like I said, she's done a great job and I hope she stays around, you know.
Let's do it.
What do you all want to do?
I'm sticking with what we said before with Amanda.
Me too.
Yeah, it's gotta be the same as Amanda. And
Okay,
then we address compensation next year.
Probably across the board, there's probably a bit of right size that needs to be done all over.
I'd like to make a point about that too. If you look at what we've done in other departments that were even paid lowered per hour, like the transfer station, I've been advocating for years to bring that up, but I never increased it more. You know, at a huge jump, we've incrementally increased that bottom line up and up and up. And we've never made big jumps like this. So I'm fine with $20. And again, this is not about the person. Sierra does a great job. She did a fantastic job in that documentation for that court case, that arbitration. There's no denial of this. Everybody does good work here. It's just we look at the positions, we look at the comparables in the county, what other people are paying, and we try to stay in the middle there.
No, and I totally respect that, Jim, but I said, who's reporting in the transfer station? Who's giving the feedback on their work? Are they doing an exemplary job? I said, I can respect or go right back to the $2.7 million that we've reined in and to improve town's infrastructure. That is big out of my office. And this girl has, I can't even tell you. It's a joint effort. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to sit here and pat myself on the back, but I'll tell you what, she's an asset.
Can I say something?
Who's this?
Chris,
Chris. Okay, you're coming up as Amanda.
yeah, I know
wow.
that.
Okay.
You guys are talking about your obligation to the town and to not raise things too much. But you just took one employee, raised them $3.50 an hour, plus another 2.5%. So where do you come off with that justification? And you got two other secretaries that you're saying you can't do that because you have an obligation to this town. You're contradicting yourself.
Thank you for your comment, Chris. Any other comments from the board?
I'm good.
Oh, I'll make one more comment that I'm okay with what we decided, and we got a couple more sessions in case we decide to change our minds.
Okay, I think that's a good point of view. All right. All right.
So what was the number, Jim?
I would like to make a point, though. Strategically, I don't think it's a good idea to propose someone's salary based on what somebody else makes. I think you got to be looking at, what do I think this person, this position, not the person, what is the position? What's the right salary for that position, not based on what somebody else in the office makes.
Okay, moving on.
Jim, just so I can write this down, it was 1841 to what was the number? The hourly for the clerk?
We're raising it to $20 an hour.
Okay.
All right. Where are we now? We're at the 0.2. That's $1,000 we put in there for your equipment there, Brian.
Yes.
We had $250 in there. What's that, office equipment?
Yeah, and Sierra is due for a computer. I think it's 2013, and she's been having some time, and hopefully we get the internet and everything straightened out over there. But her computer is definitely due to be updated.
It's 8 years old.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, we should
Okay.
let that happen.
I'm surprised it still works.
No, I know.
I just got rid of my 10-year-old Mac. I did want to update you guys, just so you know that we are, I heard from HRT, we were talking about that wireless bridge to the highway garage from the office. And it was determined after conversation with HRT that it would be faster to do the fiber line. They can get that right in within, hopefully in 2 weeks.
Oh, good.
The other one will take another month to even get. So I told them to proceed with that. It was a little more money to go with the hardwire. He's very reasonable over there, Alex.
In the long run, the money will be about the same.
Yeah, it might be a little bit more, but you're right. Yeah. Most of that was manpower. Okay, highway superintendent contractual. That's the law books, the supplies, all that stuff. That's pretty much the same. Any comments on that page? We can move on. We had the garage contractual. That was 26,000 brought up to 30.
And
I need to be looked
that's
at
propane.
with fuel.
Yeah.
Yep, propane and electric. So that was bumped up $4,000. That's a fairly good increase there.
Mhm.
Street lighting contractual actually went down a little bit. Aid to the disabled, we always put that in there. It's $500. Publicity, 1243 was the budget modification we made in 21, and we kept it there. Veteran Services is $1,000 we give to the American Legion. Programs for the Aging is contractual, it's $200. Recreation Administrative, Personnel Services is at 10.9. The 0.4 is 200. That just was a modest increase. Parks, here we go. Personal Services, 7110. Okay, let me get my little cheat sheet out here. We were looking at position 1 at $16 an hour. They're currently at 1503, and with the 2.5%, it would have been 1540. I'm trying to raise those levels up there. You know, when we talk about employees and wages, these people are really down there at the bottom of the pay scale. The minimum wage in 2022 in New York State will be $13.20. We have another worker coming in, and the position number 2 is $14.39. That was derived by taking the bump that would have been 13. They were $13.45 in 21, $13.79, and bringing up to $14.39. It was basically taking the 2.5% and giving up 50% or 50-cent bump on each one. And then at the park attendant for $12.59, which would be under minimum wage in 2022, the bump would have been $12.90, and we're going to bring that up to $13.50. Position 4 is Carl, and that is at $22.50 based on the 2.5%. Everybody good with that? Any comments?
I like it.
So there was one that I took and looked at it and tried to just, you know, make the modified budget increase without a huge jump. Parks equipment, $575. Looking at parks contractual, that all the things in there, electric toilet, the gas, reimbursed labor, supplies. Any comments?
That's good. To bring up a slightly sensitive subject, are we anticipating electrical prices going up also?
Good question. I don't know that yet. I would imagine so. I'd have to look at the actual and that year-to-date build and see where we are. Usually we're pretty good on those things. But it's really hard to project too much. We don't know. Playground and rec equipment. Contractual, let's see, we had nothing in the 22 budget for that. We just spent that money on the new playground there. And we have a pretty good reserve. I don't have the reserve amounts with me on these. Playground and rec center contractual, $4,500 this year. It was brought down to $4,000. It was green dirt, softball, rec supplies, and electricity. Any comments?
Gene thinks that's enough as a 500 decrease, and I'm fine with it.
Yeah, no, I mean, Scott and I went through it, and based on, well, obviously the last 2 years, we had no rec last year, minimal rec this year. You know, I bought some things just because I had the opportunity because the prices were low. I think we're fine.
You're all done painting pickleball.
Okay, moving on to pool. Modified budget amounts in 2021 were 38,492. We brought that up to 40,400. Excuse me. You can look at the staffing increases, the increases in lifeguard staffs and pool attendant. The pool equipment was at 10,635 last year. We brought it to 10,600 this year. And the pool contractual was 22,500, and we brought that down to 25.
Yeah, we want to address that one now that we're a month in here. We use a lot of chemicals that we thought we're going to have left over for 2022.
Yeah,
So-
what I thought was gonna be surplus, and once again, fairly new at the operational, even though the pool was covered, we still had to keep the pumps and everything running. And obviously with the warm weather we've had, we still had to chlorinate the pool. So what chlorine I thought it was gonna have a surplus actually ended up being used about half of what I thought was gonna have left over. So I'd like to keep it at what it was for last year. And I think that's a good number. Chlorine was high in 21, but not crazy because we bought it in liquid bulk versus the tablets that most of the homeowners saw the increase on. But I still did see an increase, but not drastic.
So you want to bring it up to the 22,500 from 2021?
Yes.
Wasn't there a filter or something that we were talking about replacing one of the elements every year?
But we
That's the-
replaced, we did that last year, and actually this year, I had bought it, and they're both in there. We have to buy some sensors this year, but not the big ticket items that what you're speaking of. We had to buy 2 salt generators last year, and they were like $7,000 each.
It was just thinking we were trying to get away from getting to a point where we sort of rotated and didn't have like a couple of them go in a year in one budget cycle.
Right,
But,
so I ideally like to have one on hand, but $7,000 to sit on a shelf, that's a lot to ask, so.
Yeah, indeed.
But their lifespan is anywhere from 3 to 6 years.
Maybe they'll
That's-
stagger.
Right, so, obviously you don't want all 3 of them going down at the same time.
Mhm. Any other
So-
questions on that?
Well, one more thing to add on the 006, the stipend for the pool consultant, Jimmy Henderson. It's been an exceptional year with him being very cooperative and a lot more contact than in previous. I don't know if we'd like to consider doing something more than the 500. He hasn't hinted or asked, but what I'm being told, it's been a very good year with him doing a lot of extra stuff.
So that was something that we talked about, like in the eventuality that Mr. Richardson, or Henderson, I'm sorry, retires, that we might want to have that stipend brought up a little bit to still be attractive for him to do it in the future. So I have no problem bringing that up, say to another $250, unless somebody has another idea.
That's the number I was thinking.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, one sec. Okay. Moving on to the next page,
I'll be right back.
and we're not quite halfway there, I lied. Thanks,
just
everyone,
so
for
you-
hanging in there.
Just so you know, you usually do the highway on a separate night. You do the
Yeah.
general fund usually
Yeah, I
the
know.
first night and the highway the second, in case you were gonna stop at some point.
We should probably stop around midnight, right?
Yeah, I'm definitely midnight. We'll put a cap on it. How's that?
And I still have 2 hours of work to do tonight when this is all over, so.
If we do the highway on another night, that means that we push it, we add another meeting so that we can come up with the preliminary, right, Dawn?
You already have the 19th of October scheduled for the next budget meeting.
Yeah,
Right.
we got 2 more nights. that
We got
scheduled.
2 more nights scheduled. We got the
Okay.
19th and the 26th is if there is a need for it.
Okay. So I'm just thinking ahead that we could look at the highway on the 19th and look at the modifications we make from this meeting and decide if we just want to move from there. Unless we decide there's modifications to the highway, then we bring it back again on the 26th.
Okay,
That's usually how we do it.
Okay. Is everyone back?
Everybody
Oh.
quit.
Vicky
Yeah,
Reed, she's
I
still.
don't
Yeah,
think
she had
we-
to step away for a sec.
I'm back.
Okay, so on page 36, 7310.1, we have youth programs, personnel services. And that is the same as it was in 2021, $31,462. Go down to youth programs, we bumped that up $1,000. Those are pretty modest, changes. That includes the buses, and I would hope that $1,000 will help with the extra, well, they've committed to, I think, that next year with the same pricing. So, yeah, pretty much the same. That's pretty good. Very good job there, Recreation Department.
Yeah.
Library, that is the amount that is up for the, what do you call those things on the back of the
414
ballot?
vote.
Referendum.
Referendum, thank you. Losing my mind already. Then we go down to historian on the next page, 38, 7510.1, personnel services, that's $200. Historian contractuals, $200. We end up with a total in 7510 of $400. Okay, celebrations, 7550.4. 2021, our modified budget amounts were 7950. Our actual amounts were 3829.10 and our tentative budget is 10990. That's a huge increase, but we were anticipating inching up our budget for Olive Day, the bicentennial there. Everybody feel that's appropriate? Those kind of that bump?
Yeah, this is a big year.
Yeah, and I don't think the actual to date is the correct number. There's probably some bills still out there.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah. But you can see that, it went from 8,000 to almost 8,000, almost 11,000. That's a $3,000 increase in that line.
Is the Olive Day one already bumped up for 2023? Or are you thinking of adding like another $5,000, $10,000 into that? So
I thought that was
you
bumped
won't-
up.
That's already bumped
No,
up.
that's
One of
bumped
three.
up for our regular Olive Days. If Janice has Teresa's budget, but it would be nice if we could get that bumped up a little more, just so that it's not going to get used next year. But Janice had suggested that we put it into this one, and then there won't be such a big bump up the following year, which is what the year we actually need it. And then you can drop it back down again.
I thought that 8490 had reflected a bump up, no?
No.
No,
Oh, okay.
her
No,
detailed budget, I think she was just, there was a lot of stuff was increased. The cost of shirts, the cost of calendars, cost
The
of bands,
bands,
all
yes.
went up.
Okay. Anybody have an idea of what we bring in on Olive Day?
we
It's-
bring in almost what we take out.
Yeah.
So we break even. If Teresa is still there, she'll be able to probably tell us better if we broke even this year or not.
It was pretty close from what I
I
could
think
see
it was
my
pretty
last
close.
meeting.
Okay, Great, that's great.
I am here. I am here.
Hey, Ternice.
Hey,
Yes, hello.
How you doing?
Good, good. Yes, we actually bring in more than what the budget is, and we did again this year. I don't have the paperwork in front of me to tell you exactly. It's not tremendous, but yet we never use what we're budgeted for. We always bring it back.
Okay. That's great. So it's good to know that that number is offset by the revenue, in a one-to-one. That's great. What would you recommend that we start stashing away to get us up to the next year? I mean, in 2
Well,
years from now.
It kind of depends upon what we want to do. We talked about a carnival, which is way out of our hand because of the amount of days that you have to go for. But I looked into a circus. It would be a 2-day thing, and that's possible. But we have to get it booked by the end of the year. I can't wait another year. It has to be booked. And
How much
also
does that cost?
fireworks. Well, see, there's a couple ways of doing that. We could charge admission and just pay the company, or we could let them, because they still take the income on the concession stands, because they have a certain amount of like junk food concessions, so they would take money in on that. But what we charge for the admission is ours. Or we could let them take it in. So there's a couple ways of doing it. And again, it would depend upon what they're going to come out with a price. So I can't really tell you the price right now. I'd have to go further with them, but I was just getting ideas. Also, we talked about fireworks. Right now, approximately 15 to 20 minute display of fireworks is going to be between 6,000 to 7,000. But again, that could go up too. But right now, that's what it is. And all they have to do is come and tell them, and they'll come and check it out. We do not have to put anything up front for that until about 2 months before we actually have the display of fireworks.
If we brought in the circus and they're doing concessions, that kind of cuts out any vendors that we would normally do, or would we not have a standard olive day at all?
Kind of, yes, but I would go into more detail with them if we decided to go that way. So if it's just going to be like junk food, like they said, cotton candy, junk food, and they have it there in the tent. So maybe we could still have our vendors as far as the real food stuff. So, but I mean, again, we would have definitely the vendors as far as your crafts and informational and stuff, that we would definitely have.
Right.
But the food is what we'd have to discuss though. So as far as sticking away, you're definitely enough to cover fireworks if we go just with fireworks. And then again, if we go with the circus, you know, what they're going to require us to pay them, and from there, and which I can check into that much more if you want.
Well, that seems like a whole night of meeting right there.
it is.
It did.
Well, I can get all the cards in play, and then, you know, we can go over, but that's up to you. So
I think the point was Janice said just to put some in there this year. It won't be used next year, but and then we could put some in next year. And that's what Janice had suggested when I asked her what we could do.
Yep. And the reason why I increased some of that stuff is because the cost of T-shirts has gone up, the cost of some of the other stuff has gone up. So that's why I allowed for increase on some of that stuff, so that we didn't get hole in the bags, that we have it there in case we need it. So, but as far as, Janice is right.
Is the 8490 an increase from last year? I mean, from this year? How much of an increase is it?
You know, like I said, I don't have all the paperwork in front of me. I just presented it.
Right. I mean, we do have the 7950 21 modified budget amount.
I think it's in the pushing $2,000, I think.
Yeah, I believe
Yes.
Drew's right.
I
I
think-
believe it's about
Yes, I think you're
$2,000.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a
Yep, I
huge
think he's
increase.
right.
That's like a 20% increase. Or more.
I mean, what the budget is figured for here now, before the increase, is we don't even have enough in the budget to cover the T-shirts. So to cover the T-shirts is the money we're taking in to cover them between the sponsors and what we sell. So
Right,
then I have enough to cover my T-shirts. So it's not enough, nothing.
right.
So do we want to put 3 in, 4 additional?
I was
Um,
thinking 3 myself, 2,500 or 3.
Well, if, fireworks at a minimum, we're doing is 6 to 7, then I think we want at least 3 this year. If that's our sort of minimal
Yeah.
celebration.
I don't know how
Yeah,
fireworks, how will fireworks work when holiday's over at 6 o'clock?
People
Well,
come back.
we'll have to extend it then.
Yeah, it'll go
At
to,
that point,
go to
we'll
9.
extend olive
Yeah.
then. Because they'll do fireworks like probably about 20 minutes to 9 o'clock the latest. At that time of the year.
All right, that's
But
September.
if
It's not that
you
bad.
extend Olive Day that much, you'd have to have lighting, I would think, right? For the various vendors and everything.
I think
Well, you
it's
could
hard
still-
to, I think it's hard to have Olive Day at night.
Yeah.
Because we don't have enough lights for that many people to be walking around after drinking all day
Yeah,
in the
my
dark
point.
in the park.
That's my point exactly.
I think that's an issue we have to address.
Like
if
I
we
said, I think
wanna
that's a
go-
whole night's meeting.
Yeah, it's
have
gonna
sooner
take up
than
a whole
later.
night meeting, but I have, we're gonna do something, right? Let's just agree on that.
Mhm.
And that we need to put some money away, to squirrel some money away. So I like that $2,500 number till we know what we're doing. If you guys are good
Okay.
with that.
I'm good with that.
Okay. All right. We'll be up over 2% in no time. All right, moving on, senior adult recreation. Well, we had we had a terrible year in 21 because, and that's not year to date, but a lot of things were closed. So I suggest we keep that number in there. Maybe it's a little high. Any suggestions?
Yeah, I would suggest we keep it and maybe we use that for some of those dollars for a Thursday night event like we did in the summer.
Yeah, I thought that was a great idea. Yeah.
Yes.
Great. Okay. I did speak to the guy who helped us out on that, who got that band for us. And they're moving, unfortunately, out of town. But they're moving to Woodstock, and he kind of told me that they would do it again if they could. That wasn't a deal breaker for them. So hopefully we can get them back. That didn't cost us anything. All right. Zoning.
What kind of music was it?
What's that?
What kind of music was it?
It was popular music. I kind of fun.
Current popular music.
No, it was a mix. It was some standards modernized, and there was also some some top 40 stuff. It was a good mix. Jazz, they did some jazz. No, it was well received. The ages varied. People were dancing. Well received for the the music that they played.
Well, if it turns out they can't do it, I can help you find somebody else.
Okay. Trying to keep this focused on the budget, not on the planning.
Sorry.
Start planning Olive Day. We'll be here for a week. Okay, so now we're going to zoning officer salary. It was It was, if I can find it, 12,133. The ask on it was 18,000. So these guys, it looks like they put in like, both of them, but I'm comparing it to the building inspector one, roughly close to $6,000 increase for each one of them. We could try to look at that and have, a similar increase, because we did on that line, we went to 12.5, right?
The zoning's workload increased similarly.
Significantly.
Oh, yeah. Yes. What are your thoughts? 18,000, that was 15,000. We came in 2,500 on that, 2,500 under that would be 15.5.
I'm good with that.
Sound good?
That would
Yeah.
be fine. Yeah.
Anybody else want to chime in on that?
That sounds good to me.
All right, good. You can call them and let them know. Again, that clerk thing is the same thing. Same clerk. That's with the increase built in. Clerk 2 is Janelle. And that's part of her deal.
She's just paid a flat rate.
I believe that's based on an hourly rate.
Okay,
That's
good.
not flat
'Cause she's
rate.
working her tail off. I hope she's hourly.
Yeah.
That's with planning mostly, not with zoning, right?
True.
One of the highest paid per hour employees we have, I believe. Janelle is, let's see what that is.
Nell's been doing it a long time.
2676.
She's
Okay.
been doing it a long time.
Yeah, that's just for the ZBA there.
Right. Not the planning job.
Right, it's on the next page.
Right.
I think,
All right, we're good with page 41. Moving on.
yes.
Okay. Personnel services in planning, there's the clerk. That went up a lot, you see that,
Yeah.
and that reflects that. Okay. Equipment, 788.90. That was a computer. So she's good. I think we're waiting on that computer still. Planning. On the 0.4, you have your usual things there.
Mhm.
Nothing new there. Environmental control on the next page. 8090.2 for 500, 8090.4 for 500, 8090, 1000 total.
What is environmental control?
Environmental control equipment. That's a good question. I would have to look that one up.
Okay.
I don't know if that is, let me just look here for a second. I want to put my foot in my mouth.
Just so I know.
No, I believe, what's that?
So it doesn't look like we ever spend it.
Yeah, there's a reason for it, and I'm trying to remember. I don't believe it's something that we use that often, but I believe it's for if we need to address environmental issues.
Okay.
specifically for
Okay.
remediation. And that's what I'm guessing. There might be a more specific thing that we've used it for in the past. Storm sewers. Tentative budget. This was the actual amount for 2020 and 2021. 2021 amount. or stormwater mitigation. There's no news there. Garbage went up to, it was 53,689 for personnel services in the 0.1, and it's up to 5523. Refuse and garbage equipment, nothing. Refuse and garbage contractual, 1203 to 1203. That's your uniform rentals and all that stuff.
Does the landfill repair go in here that we may have pending, or what does that come out of?
That, let me just look at this. Bear with me one sec. I know that we have, I asked that that be budgeted. I'm just not sure what line it's in.
Jim, if I remember right, I think there was X amount put in at the end of every year for in the reserves for that stuff, or no,
There
So
is
that
X
reserve?
amount put in every year at the reserves. However, I thought that we started to look at putting in every year some money squirreling away, like we do with the police car and machinery. But I thought we had it on there. And I
No,
can't
I
tell you
think-
which line it's on.
I think last year we took a certain dollar amount and put it in reserves because we knew we had an issue.
Yeah.
Okay.
That sounds right.
Yeah, and it might be that we put it in every year like we do for the pool, you know? I think that's the way it is, but is that budgeted, you know, I'm not entirely certain if it's in there in person. Yeah, I don't know, to tell you the truth. I'll find that out. It's those last late night questions that get me. Okay. All right, anything else on that page 45?
No.
Page 46, recycling. Let me break down some of the labor into that. Personnel services. Again, reflects those increases we saw in the other lines. Same personnel. Recycling contractual. You see a little bit of increase in there. So that went from 47,200. I'm sorry, 8189 from 51,550 to 57,380. Mainstream waste recycling went from 108,140 to 110,000. Our 2021 actual amounts was 60,000. That's pretty tight. But that was the end of August, so things should slow down a little bit. Any questions there? Uh, 8989 0. State retirement went from 99,837 to 100,000. That was a number Janice was comfortable with. Police and fire retirement went from 4,406 to 4,406. That stayed the same. Social Security went from 74,895 to 76,767 on 9030. Medicare,
Jim?
yes.
Didn't, this is the tentative one, didn't something with the retirement, she was gonna plug in those numbers, but we didn't get that version of it?
You know, I was thinking about that when we were there I don't know if she did. I thought she said it was.
So this number for retirement or something may be different, right?
Which one, 9010?
Well,
State
whichever
retirement?
one, the state retirement, because she said it was something to do with retirement, so it may be different at the next meeting.
It might be,
because-
yes, you're
because
absolutely
she-
right. Yes, I thought she said that it wasn't that big of a difference, but we'll find out, yeah. Social Security, 9030, went up $2,000 roughly. Page 52, Medicare. Medicare only went up from, the line is 9035, went 16,775 to 17,195. Workers' comp, 9040, went from 57,053 to 63,279. Unemployment insurance, 9050, went from 12,500 to 15,000. Hospital and medical insurance, we saw an increase in that.
A decrease in budget.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was surprised by that.
Insurance. 332,257 to 330,000. That's 9060. Oh, wait a minute.
It was slightly lower on the highway side too.
I gotta have to ask her about that because that doesn't gel with that.
Yeah, because when you gave us this, you said that the health costs went up.
Yeah,
Like 5%, right?
yeah.
Maybe people came off.
Yeah, do we have less people?
It might be that she looked at the actual amounts versus the budgeted amounts. She might have made an adjustment on that. I'll ask her about it. Next page, dental insurance stayed the same. Our line number is 9061, 13,012, $13,012. That's it. Until we get into highway. I think that's enough for tonight. Any comments, questions? Late night TV suggestions?
Process is always tougher than you think it's gonna be.
I can tell you right now, it's a lot easier when Janice is here. But we have Marley's here. She's still here and I thank her for staying here for 3 hours and listening to us. I hope we didn't scare you away, Marley's.
I'm still here.
I thought maybe you dozed off or something, but hey, I appreciate you staying in there. We went through it line by line. If you had it in front of you, it would have been easier. What I can do is we do have other budget hearings scheduled for October 19th and October 26th. And if you like, I can get you a budget so that you'll see exactly what we're talking about.
That would be great.
If you choose to come back and listen through one of these. Okay? Very good. Thank you all for coming tonight.
Vicky's muted for some reason.
All right.
Can't talk, but
Any other, Vicky, you want to say something? You're muted there.
Yes, I can get Marley's the highway section tomorrow.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, I can email it to her at work.
That'd be
Very
great.
good.
Yeah, no problem.
do you have a scan of it?
I can scan it.
Can you send it to me? I hate paper. I'd much rather look at it online.
Sure, I can scan it, the entire budget at once, like
Excellent. Thank you.
easily.
I'm not in the office anymore, so I only have this
Yeah.
flatbed scanner that we needed. So
I can scan anything anybody needs, like the budget and the highway budget and all that stuff.
thank you.
We can scan it too. We have the resources. for
Yeah, I
that.
figured you could.
Okay. All right. Any other comments? I want to close the meeting.
Yeah,
Bye.
I'm out of town for a few days. Don't call me.
Oh, man. Where you going?
Maine.
Nice.
Oh,
that's a
nice.
big
Oh,
day
is
to find you.
Is
Boy.
this your family vacation?
Nah, this is Scott and Tina's vacation.
Ah, nice, nice.
Even better.
Well, I can eat dinner, so I'll talk to you guys later.
Oh, my.
All right.
Okay,
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night, all.
Appreciate your time. Thank you all for your input. Dawn wants to say something.
Yes, you have to close it properly.
oh,
Okay.
You have to
I
make
make
a
a motion to
motion.
close the meeting, the
I'll
hearing,
second.
the budget hearing. in
Okay.
favor?
All in
Hello, Vicky.
favor.
all right.
Aye. Thank you, Dawn. Thanks for catching us
Yeah.
there.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. Bye now.
Good night.
Bye.